Thanks for tuning in to our final installment of a Black History version of 10 Questions with NBC10 Boston. Yes, we saved the best for last.
Whoa, okay, the finale, the caboose, if you will.
You have to make this one a good one.
Yeah, okay. No pressure.
No pressure at all. He's originally from Ghana, but was raised in Massachusetts, went to Boston College. Our guest today is WWE superstar Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
You're bringing a lot of energy for someone that said they don't like early mornings.
Yeah, once that red light goes on, it's infectious. It injects me with that energy, and I gotta, expel it to other people so they can expel it to other people, and we can all make this world a more positive place.
We already have a TED Talk early in the morning as well. So I mentioned you are from Ghana, but you were raised in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. Take us back. How does someone from Ghana decide to get into the world of wrestling?
It's funny. A lot of people have a moment where they realize, like, oh, I saw this guy on television, and then I realized I wanted to be a wrestler. For me, I don't really have one of those. I feel like for as long as I can remember, I've always been just enamored by WWE and the characters and the outfits and the costumes and the bright colors and the storylines and, the drama between person A and person B, and then person C gets involved. I've just always been enthralled by it. I've always been drawn to it, and I've just always known that this is what I wanted to do. It's my childhood dream. So, I used to watch like Superstars every Saturday morning and, watch my favorite guys like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. And I just knew that I wanted to do that. I wanted to be in the ring and wrestle. I made a lot of makeshift wrestling rings. I don't even want to call them that because I would take like an extension cord, tie it to a tree, get a volleyball net, tie that to something, and then make this like 3-sided wrestling ring in my backyard, and then just go out there and try to have matches with myself. So it's just always been a part of my fiber ever since I can remember.
And I specifically mentioned you being Ghanaian because anyone that knows African parents, Caribbean parents, for someone to end up in the world of wrestling is definitely not a traditional route. I know your parents are both scholars. Your dad actually works at Boston College.
Yeah.
I was doing research and I was like, wait, is this who I think it is? The picture that popped in my mind of the person that I thought it was when I looked up your last name, your dad is definitely well known on campus. He's always walking around smiling.
Yep.
Who he is.
So always a smile on his face. Yeah.
Great.
That's where I get it from.
I can see that. I see the resemblance.
Yeah.
So how did you convince them to support your endeavors, considering that they were very education based?
Yeah, it was. It's funny because I don't think that they really understood what I wanted to do until I actually got hired by WWE. So the typical process is if you decide you want to be a wrestler, you find a wrestling school to train at. So I trained up in North Andover at the Chaotic Training Center. Now back then it was Killer Kowalski's school of professional wrestling. And I remember telling my mom and dad that, I'm going to try this wrestling thing out. And at the time I just graduated from college. I was 3 years deep, 3 years after college. And I'm supposed to be climbing this corporate ladder. I worked at Staples on Route 9, just every day driving in and being in that cubicle, which is amazing for some people. Like the consistency works. You know what your day is going to look like pretty much every single day. You know what you're going to do day in, day out. But for me, walking into that cubicle, I just knew I wasn't fulfilled. Like I was almost kind of crestfallen, like my heart sank and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the rest of my life for, I just started and I'm already feeling this sense of, I don't want to be here. It wasn't until 3 years into my career at Staples that I decided let me give this wrestling thing a shot and see if I can make it, and in telling my parents that when I first started training, so I would train after work. So I'd work my full 8-9 hour day, and then I would drive to the school and then, train for 3 hours and then drive back home. At the time I was living in Cleveland Circle. And, I did that 5 days a week. So very long days. And then we finally started having shows. And I told my parents that I was going to be doing these shows. And these were at Knights of Columbus halls and, bingo halls and crowds of maybe like 100 people. 100 people would be like a really, really good crowd back in the day. So now my parents are like, you graduated college. We paid for you to go through college, and you got this education, and you're going to these bingo halls and you're wrestling people. I don't understand. So they didn't really know how big it could possibly be. But lo and behold, luckily I was, pretty, I'm trying to say this without being like arrogant, but I was pretty good, for being in the business for such a small amount of time. And I ended up getting hired in 2006. And I got to the main roster less than a year later. And Survivor Series, a pay-per-view that we have that involves like people from both rosters, Raw and SmackDown, kind of going up against each other as almost like an all-star game type vibe to it. And my parents got to go to that match, and it was in Boston. And then they saw like, oh, all the people, they're all cheering for my son. And then all of a sudden, my parents, they became my biggest supporters and my biggest fans. My mom wants every single t-shirt of mine that comes out so she can wear and tell all of her friends and everything. So now they get it, they understand. But initially they definitely gave me some strange looks about just, I remember my mom specifically saying like, well, make sure you're still climbing that ladder. Make sure you're still doing well at work. And I tried to juggle both for as long as I could. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's hard to believe that was in 2006. Oh. Now I'm dating myself, So, but the thing about it is that I tell people all the time is when you find something that you love to do, like it doesn't feel like work. I go to my job, but I don't feel like I'm there like at a job. I'm there, I'm having fun. I have a creative outlet. I have a big influence on people. The kids listen to what I have to say. For some reason, I'm just a guy, but they listen to me. So we use our social responsibility. We take our social influence very, very responsibly and seriously. So it's a great position to be in, and just spreading like a sense of motivation to people is really at the crux of what means the most to me.
Right. And a typical BC alum to be living in Cleveland Circle out of college.
Yeah.
Back to your BC experience though, during that time, was there ever an inkling like, all right, yes, I have to climb a corporate ladder when I get out of school, but a part of you was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like you already knew in your core that it wasn't going to work out.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I fluctuated a lot. We didn't have to choose a major, I think until like, sophomore year or something like that. So, I didn't know what I wanted to do initially. I knew I wanted to be involved in television in some way, shape, or form. So I finally decided communications, and that even still is the broad. I was like, oh, maybe I can get into advertising or public relations or marketing, or maybe I can do some TV. I had no idea what I wanted to do. At one point, I was even considering being going into law. But it wasn't until I actually graduated from college and actually like getting like, towards like senior year where I had to go to interviews and everything, it was a very kind of like unnerving feeling where I thought that, this is what I'm supposed to do because everyone's telling me what I'm supposed to do. You're supposed to climb the corporate ladder. You're supposed to, go out and interview and get a job right out of college. But it wasn't because it wasn't that I was doing it because of what I was feeling inside. I was just doing it because that's what you're supposed to do. This is what you're taught. This is what you're supposed to do. I think a lot of people fall into that trap. And again, it's great. Obviously you want to use your education to, to be able to live comfortably and have a good job that can provide you with a salary to feed your family and to live a comfortable life. But there's something about just following your heart and following your passion, even if it doesn't pay right away. I think that should be your priority. And if you can do that, like out of college, awesome. You find what you want to do and you're able to build that foundation through the classes and the courses that you take. That's great. But if not, don't be afraid to still try. So, I was a communications major. Like I said, got a job with Staples right out of college, and that's where I was at.
And eventually you make it, like you said, into the WWE world, and your character is Jamaican, which, there's a whole story behind that. I definitely want to hear that. But then you're the one who ends up blowing your cover. So what was that You get that phone call that your mom just blew up for you.
Yeah, well, that was the thing is that so when I was at that school, the major what you were supposed to do was come up with a character. Oh, WWE signing characters. They need people with personality. And I was listening to the Damian Marley album at the time, and I remember driving to work, Welcome to Jamrock, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can do like a Jamaican character. I remember back in the day, Mad Lion, there was a skit where somebody was talking to Mad Lion, hey Lion, yeah. So I started doing that in the car, and then we had like a promo day where we just go out and get in the ring and we just talk. And I cut a promo about Ric Flair, legendary wrestler who had stolen my Jamaican beef patty, and I was mad at him. He threw it in the trash or something like. So I just made up this, and then everybody in the crowd, all the students were just like, they were excited. They were just like, oh my God, they had never seen something like that before. So I knew I had something that I could build on. Before you know it, like that's what gets me signed, being something that was unique, doing a character that was unique, playing that character. And then I get on the television and I'm, doing these intro videos of Kofi Kingston on the beach, just like bring people like making sure that people don't bring trouble to your paradise and, beating up these bullies who are, playing loud music on the beach or kicking sand in people's faces. And that was it. And then I was Jamaican. And I remember like people when MySpace was a thing, they said that, there were Jamaican people or people from Jamaica. And they said, well, that's not a Jamaican accent. And I was like, I know, it's really bad. It's a real bad. I've never been to Jamaica. Here I am playing a Jamaican character, And then Ghanaians were like, oh, well, if you want to be Jamaican, then go ahead. You have that culture. I said, we're playing characters on a television show. Like, what is going on? Why is everybody mad? But then I remember having an interview where the reporter was really trying to dig in. And he was like, well, Kofi is a very Ghanaian name, and it is. It's like Mike or John over there. It's the name given to a boy born on Friday. Yeah, Friday, yeah. So, he just kept drilling me. And I'm just like, man, after the interview, I was like, man, he was really pressing to find out about my heritage. And I was told to always be in character no matter what. And I was like, oh, no, my mother, she really loved the African culture. Just a tribute to Ghana, the motherland. So she named me Kofi, but I'm from Jamaica. Terrible Jamaica. I'm just, digging myself deeper and deeper. This is like a real reporter. So then he finds like my dad's number, my dad gives him my mom's number, and then my mom spills the beans, like you said. And then she calls me like a half hour later, and she's like, oh, a reporter just called me, and he was asking me questions about, oh, are you from Jamaica? And I said, oh, yeah, not really, but he's from Ghana, and this is just like a business, And so now he writes this article, and it's just like, oh, well, Kofi Kingston, he's ashamed of his culture and this and that, and he's, choosing a Jamaican character and this. And I'm just like, bro, what is happening? You're supposed to be like an accredited reporter. Like it says WWE, like World Wrestling Entertainment, like, but at the time I was really nervous about my cover being blown. And I remember going into Vince's office and just being like, hey, the jig is up. They all know, everybody knows. And probably like a year or two later, I just started talking in my normal voice and dropped the Jamaican accent, which for me was great because it's hard enough to remember what you have to say, let alone how you have to say it. And on top of that, your accent is bad. So it was kind of a breath of fresh air, a sigh of relief for me to be able to speak in a way that was organic or true to me.
Exactly. But you obviously still are proud of your Ghanaian culture.
Yeah, of course.
What do you love the most about being Ghanaian?
You said what? Who? What?
What do you love the most about being Ghanaian?
Oh, you know what? I think that, and I've realized this as I've been able to go back a couple years ago. I hadn't been to Ghana in 26 years. It was 26 years. I went there in like 7th grade, and I was able to go and meet like a lot of my family members. And we have such a huge family over there in Ghana, and everybody is just so welcoming. So eager to bring an outsider in. And I know I was born there, but I hadn't been there for quite some time, but I was really embraced with, warm arms. And it was the same feeling going back in 2019 as the WWE champion. Same thing. It was almost like you see Muhammad Ali in South Africa and everybody is in the streets, like just like around him and wanting to just get eyes on him and put a hand on him. And that's really kind of what it felt like, being able to go back to Ghana as the WWE champion. And I really felt like the love. And one thing that I've heard from a lot of different people is that Ghana is one of the most just welcoming nations in Africa. As a matter of fact, in 2019, the president had declared it as the year of return. So you saw a lot of celebrities going over to Ghana as they were encouraged to do so, to kind of reacclimate and get in touch with the motherland and go and reconnect with your roots. I think that's so important. But I think that's the I've never met a Ghanaian that's mean. I've never met a Ghanaian that is not welcoming, that is not friendly, that is not nice. It just seems to be something that by culture, we all, we like people, we embrace people, and we do our best to lift people up. So I think that, I see that in my parents. That's what I've always seen. And that's what I try to portray for my kids to see. And I see that with Ghanaians all over the world.
Which I don't understand why you and Nigerians have this beef. It doesn't.
Yeah, I married my wife is half Nigerian, so I'm doing my best to kind of close the gap. You know what I'm saying? It's all love. It's all love.
The United Nations, because you clearly are a good ambassador. I do want to get to KofiMania, but before I do, I want to talk about the New Day. And I think despite the world of WWE, I think anyone that follows pop culture, they've seen the New Day and the outfits that you guys wear. And they're iconic. Like, you look at the memes, the gifts, whatever they are, and you're like, wow, like, who designed this? Who created this? So I want to know, what is the inspiration behind the outfits that you guys usually wear?
A lot of it just depends. We draw inspiration from a lot of different places. We have drawn inspiration from anime like Dragon Ball Z, comic books, Green Lantern, Red Lantern. Even Xavier Woods, one of my tag team partners, he's a big cosplayer. So there's a convention called Dragon Con that's held at a hotel in Atlanta. And there's like this, I guess, iconic carpet that has this real particular design. So we made a set of gear that was the carpet design, so only a handful of people understood it, but that's what we do. Like, a lot of the stuff that we do is not necessarily for like the mainstream, but like a niche group of people that might get it. It might be one or two people, but for Black History Month, we wore gear that had a lot of civil rights leaders on the gear in different patches, which I'll talk about a little bit later, because Big E's doing something incredible to promote the education of civil rights leaders and things like that. But as far as the gear is concerned, we've always just taken a lot of pride in wanting to have the best gear on the roster. You have a lot of people that come together. Robert Adams with Main Event Gear, he's been our seamster, the guy who puts all the gear together. Jonathan Davenport is our designer. He's just an incredible individual. Anytime we come up with something that it might be like way left field, he just nails it every single time. My Wrestlemania gear from 2 years ago was a Basquiat inspired, and just a lot of the commonalities between my career in wrestling and WWE and his career in the world of fine arts and painting and things of that nature. There was just so many similarities. Just like he wasn't supposed to be there, but he kept on just knocking at the door and he wouldn't be denied. And that was kind of consequently like coincidentally how my career went as well. So yeah, very, very long-winded answer here for you, but there's a lot of different, whatever we're feeling at the time, we just try to make into gear. Michael Mosley, another guy. So you see like all of our like outfits and big like accessory pieces, he puts all that stuff together too. So we have a really good team that just always comes together and nails our concepts and makes us look really, really cool. So lucky to have such a good team to get everything together.
And you do mention Basquiat. You might need to make a trip back to Boston, because the MFA does have an exhibit out right now specifically about him, which I thought was really yes, you should check.
Oh my God, now I gotta go. I'm gonna wait till it gets a little bit warmer, and hopefully it stays there. But the cold is not really my forte anymore. But I'll go up there when it gets warmer.
Absolutely. And speaking of the New Day, also people want to know, and by people I mean my friends that are WWE fans, will we ever see the iconic trio back together again?
Yeah, the funny thing is so a lot of people viewed what happened. So for those of you who don't know, myself, Big E, and Xavier Woods, we are a faction. We call ourselves the New Day. We it's our faction is based on like a true brotherhood, because in real life, like, we are like legitimate brothers. Anytime we see each other, it is a feeling of elation that we have, and we get real loud. Doesn't matter where we are, and we just are genuinely happy to see each other like long lost family members, even if we've seen each other like a week before. And what happened was, so Monday Night Raw and SmackDown are two different shows that we have for WWE. And you have members who are on the Raw roster and then the SmackDown roster. For the past 6+ years, myself, Woods, and E have been a unit together. We have never been split apart. We've never had a fight on TV. We've never had a fight in real life, And now Big E got drafted to SmackDown, while myself and Xavier Woods got drafted to Raw. So now it's very strange, because I walk into the locker room and it's just me and Woods. And it's like, oh, there's something missing. Or E will walk into his locker room now and it's just him. And he's like, oh, he's by himself. But like, in our minds, like, it wasn't like a real breakup per se. It was a physical breakup in the sense that we don't see each other physically every week. But the brotherhood is still there. We're still texting. We still have our podcast together, the New Day podcast. If you go on to Spotify or wherever your podcast viewing platforms, check us out. We say things, we talk. But we still have that brotherhood. But it is very strange to be in the ring now with just like myself and Woods, and we thinking of like matches, and it's like, oh, this would be a good part for E to be here, to be like the muscle. And we don't have that muscle anymore. We don't have the numbers anymore. So we just kind of look at it as E going out and he's doing his thing on SmackDown. He's dominating. And now myself and Woods are going to be dominating on Raw. And we're all going to come back together eventually. And we'll be even higher on the mountain, which is the point of being able to be in such a group like this. We always want to lift each other up. We want to make sure that we are getting the most out of this career, because it's a very, very short career that we have with WWE in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I might be around. I might have been around for a little bit too long at this point. You know what I mean? Almost 12 years going on, but who's counting? I might have been around for a little bit too long. But while we're here and while we're able to do this, we always want to make sure to elevate each other. And right now, Big E is the Intercontinental Champion, and he's doing great. He's doing amazing. He's just an amazing orator. His ability to speak, his ability to move people, his ability to motivate is unmatched. Not to mention his look is he checks off all the boxes. He's an incredible athlete. He has an amazing presence in the community, and he deserves a chance to just be at the top and be the face of the industry. And if we have to have him get drafted to SmackDown in order for him to have a chance to do that, then myself and Woods are all about that and supporting him in getting to that next level. So, we're not together in the physical, but rest assured, the New Day, like, it's all good. We don't see us like turning on each other with chairs in the middle of the ring, or any things that you've seen other factions do over the years.
I'm sure fans would love to hear that the brotherhood is deeper than just what they see on TV, that it is that's real. And you mentioned the social responsibility earlier of people that have a platform like you do. You talked a little bit about Big E's new initiative. So for those who don't know about it, what is that initiative about?
Yeah, it's if you go to Our Heroes Rock, this is the name of the project. It's called Our Heroes Rock, and it's a way that my Big E and Andreas Hale. So if you listen to our podcast, we had a discussion about social injustice, an episode that was very impactful to a lot of people, and it was kind of emceed by Andreas Hale. And Jonathan, like I mentioned, Jonathan Davenport did all like the design and everything for it. But it's kind of like an animated series that is going to target like one major African-American influence in history. And, it's done in a way through like hip hop and animation, and just a fun way where kids who are young, 5, 6, 7, 8 can start to learn about just about Black history. And it's such an amazing, like, E showed us the video. Actually, if you go to his Instagram page or Twitter page, you can see it's at WWE Big E. You can go there and you can see like the Kickstarter video. It's just it just looks like a fun experience. And what better way to get kids to learn about Black history than through fun. Like that's what kids want to do, something that's fun, something that's engaging. So the first episode is going to be about Ruby Bridges. So that's the pilot episode, and that's what their Kickstarter is for right now. So if you go to ourheroesrock.org, you'll be able to kind of, donate and see what it's all about. And everybody's really, really excited about it. We're just so proud of E for taking on this initiative and being able to, just use our celebrity for something positive. So, and yeah, that's really what it's all about for us. With WWE, we do a lot of different, activities where we go to like elementary schools or high schools or Boys and Girls Clubs. We have a great partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of America. We go and we talk to kids and we tell them about our experience. We have a Be a Star program, which is an anti-bullying campaign where we teach kids to show tolerance and respect for their peers. All of us growing up dealt with bullying in some way, shape, or form, whether you were bullied, whether you watched bullying, or whether you were a bully yourself, So we go out and we teach kids to just be accepting of the differences between them and their peers. And like I said, for some reason, the kids tend to listen to us. So we just try to go out there and do our part. And that to me is really what it's all about. When I was a kid and I wanted to become a WWE superstar, I just wanted to win all the championships and I wanted to be the man and have all the titles. And the more I get into my career, the more I realize that, yes, being in the ring and winning titles, all of that is important. But what's more important is our ability to just influence society and lift society up and do our part to just promote positivity. So we talk about the power of positivity as characters, but it is very, very real to us, myself, Woods, and E, to just use our celebrity to make the world a much better place.
When you talk about Black history, you were able to be a part of WWE's history by being the first African-born to win a WWE championship. What was that feeling like? But also you mentioned the fact that it's bigger than that. It's not just about being a WWE champion, but for you being a Black person that can represent so many different kids that can look up and say, oh, this is something that I can achieve. When did you start thinking about how much it was bigger than just being a champion?
Well, I knew that it was huge as it was happening. So it's crazy how I even ended up in the position, because Ali, another guy on our roster, ended up getting hurt. And I was his replacement to get into a match that we call the Elimination Chamber, where you have 6 different individuals wrestling for the WWE Championship. And when I got put in that match, I got a lot of messages from a lot of people, particularly like people of color, just like, oh my God, you could be the first, African-born WWE champion. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, that would be really, really cool. But WrestleMania is really far away. So I don't know. Things are always changing. I wouldn't let myself get excited about it, but just like as the groundswell and the natural progression of people wanting me to win, they called it KofiMania. And I hate those words coming out of my mouth because it does not sound cool when I say it, but it really sure is cool to look out in the crowd and see these KofiMania signs and artists making them infused with the WrestleMania logo. It's just really, really powerful. And I knew at that point that man, if this goes down and this happens, this is incredibly historic. We know how long WWE has been around. And for me to be the person who is the first African-born person to hold the WWE championship, this would be amazing. But again, I wouldn't let myself get too excited. And then when it actually happened, I was just like, oh my God, this is something special. The moment was serendipitous in so many different ways. It was a legitimate 11-year struggle and fight to get to that point. Like I said before, I felt like I was pretty good. I never had a WWE championship title match in any way, shape, or form in over a decade. So the fact that when I finally get one, I get to win the WWE championship at WrestleMania. Number one, you talk about childhood dreams coming true. That was my childhood dream. I used to make those wrestling rings that I would make in the backyard. I would envision myself as being the WWE champion. So this was the dream, myself, Woods, and E. We worked so hard to get the New Day together. We worked so hard to have our group succeed and rise. So for us to win that championship. And I say us because without them, I wouldn't be in that position. I was never allowed to have a microphone until I was with the New Day. So I was never allowed to show that side of my personality until I was with the New Day. I never met two guys who I love more in this industry than Big E and Xavier Woods. So we just worked so hard, and this was the vision, this was the goal. So that was an accomplishment for our group. My wife was in the crowd. She sacrificed so much over the years for me to even be able to do this. You know, we have two amazing children, and I am away from them a lot because of the business and the job. And they were there. They got to get in the ring and hold the WWE championship and hold it up in front of 80,000 people. And my oldest son is throwing T-shirts out, and they're just celebrating. And I'm like, kid, this is the reason that I've been sacrificing for your entire life. Like, this is it. And hopefully that motivates them to realize that anything that is worthwhile is going to require some sort of sacrifice, just to give them that little taste. And then you move on to the fact that, you know, again, being the first African-born, that when I got back to my hotel room and I started going through all the videos and the messages that I got on social media, there were people who were literally crying tears, you know, of joy, kids squeezing each other and holding each other and just hugging each other up and crying out of joy. And then you had pictures of grown men in bars screaming and jumping up and crying and holding each other and embracing each other. So it was such an impactful moment because a lot of people didn't know if they were going to actually see it, you know, because it's one thing, and I've said this in every interview for the past 2 years, but I'll say it again. It's one thing to say that anything is possible in theory, but it's a completely other thing to say that anything is possible because you've seen it. I can say, well, I can do with that because Kofi did it. You know, if I'm sitting there, this guy looks like me. Wow, I can do that because he did it. You know, people and beyond race, like the reason why KofiMania was truly so big was because everybody in the world has experienced some form of struggle. You have come to a crossroads where you're either pursuing something that you want to pursue, and you don't know that it's the right decision because you're not really making progress. You're not seeing the progress that you think that you should see. You're seeing other people around you get the different accolades that you're not getting. And by looking at me and looking at my story, you see that, oh my gosh, this guy literally was fighting for over a decade, 11 years to climb that ladder. And he finally did it. You know, it involved a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of luck, you know, but he did it. Maybe I can do it too if I hang in there and I do it. So I take a lot of pride in being that beacon of hope for a lot of people, because sometimes that's all you need. Like, you never know how close you are to achieving your dream or achieving what you set out to achieve, achieving your goal. You know, you might be right there. You might be right there, and you might just need like a little extra push. And for me to potentially be that little extra push, to just let somebody keep going when they feel like they can't. I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in that for everybody, and particularly for the African-American community that took so much pride in this moment. So it's very humbling to be the one that is in that position. But again, at the end of the day, like that's the goal, to go out and just motivate people to go out and be the best versions of themselves.
And you talk about representation. On the women's side, we see Bianca Belair heading to Wrestlemania. Over your years of being in WWE, how have you seen representation increase?
You know, particularly like in the past decade, representation has increased like tenfold. You talk about the women's movement. I think the Bellas were the ones who like really kickstarted it off when Nikki Bella had tweeted something like "Give divas a chance," and you know, it was just a situation where on television you would see a lot of like short matches for the girls. Like a lot of times on live TV, the nature of it is that you might have 15 minutes for, all of a sudden you have like 7 minutes for, because you have to be out by a certain time. Otherwise, you know, you're rolling into the territory of a different show. So we have to be off at a certain time. And what it seemed like what was happening was that a lot of times the girls were the ones who were getting their time cut. So now you were expected to go out and and show your talent, but then you only had about 2 minutes to do it. And I think we've done a much better job of being able to give the women time to be able to go out there and tell that story. Over the past 5 years, you had the first ever all-female Royal Rumble, all women's pay-per-view. Every match from top to bottom was all women's. The first ever Money in the Bank ladder match, which is a match where you have several different contenders compete to get a briefcase that's suspended from the top of the arena on a ladder and grab it. Whoever grabs it then has a contract to challenge for the WWE title or in the title of their choosing at any given time. So we had now it's kind of like it's commonplace now, but there was a time where you never had that before. So that's all happened in the past decade, the past 5 years. And then even with talent from all over the world right now, our roster is so incredibly diverse. I mean, you look at it, you see, a lot of African-American talent. You see a lot of talent from Japan. You see people from Mexico. You see people from Canada. You know what I'm saying? You see people from India. You see people from all over the world. And that is really what WWE should be, because we influence everybody. Like, I've had the luxury of traveling all over the world and seeing the impact that WWE has in so many different nations across the world. So why wouldn't we have representation? It just makes sense. So I'm proud of the diversity that we have on the roster right now. Right now, it's probably the most diverse that it's ever been, and it keeps on getting more and more diverse. And really, that's what it's all about when you think about, again, the amount of just countries and the amount of people that we touch with this amazing product.
And I know you're not anywhere near finishing your career yet, but looking forward a little bit, when we think about the history that you've made with WWE, and what would you like to be remembered for? How would you like your legacy to be remembered when it comes to how you changed the game? So
it's funny because I have my answer is not like your typical answer to this. Like, honestly, for me, I don't really care if you remember me or not. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. It's not about me.
Yeah.
As long as what I do influences you to go off and just try to follow your dream. Yeah. I just want you to have that feeling. I don't care. I don't want you to say like, oh, well, if it wasn't for Kofi, and then like now I'm just like, well, yeah, I did that. I really could care less. I couldn't care any less if people remembered me or not. What is really important to me is just to be able to just give people that nudge, just to influence people in a way that allows them to go out and try to follow your dream. Because I've said it so many times in this interview, and I say it a lot, there really is nothing like doing what you want to do, doing what you love to do, being passionate about waking up and, going out and feeling that you had an influence on the world. And, whatever it is that you decide to do, like when you feel fulfilled, it's a completely different feeling than the feeling of a task, right? Like I remember some mornings I'll wake up to go to Staples and be like, oh God, okay. And you don't want to wake up, you're hitting the snooze button, and then, you're in traffic and you're dreading going to work, then you get to work and then you're dreading being there, and then you finally leave, but then you're dreading coming back the next day. That's no way to live, man. That's no way to live. So you owe it to yourself to just try to find something that you are passionate about and something that you love to do, and just pursue it relentlessly. And if it happens for you, I'm telling you, it's just the greatest thing in the world. So that's really what it's all about for me. It's not about me and remembering me and my legacy. Like I would be here and I would be gone one day. But if I'm able to just influence people to just, go out and try to fulfill yourselves, then I've done my job on this earth.
Final question. I know you're on the record as being a Pats fan, but also at one point you lived in Tampa. So I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Were you a fan, or were you taking Tom Brady? Like, which one is it for you?
There's no which one is it. So okay. So here's the thing. This is what it's like for me. It's like so if you're a child and your parents get divorced, right? And your dad goes off and he finds happiness and he marries somebody and they have a great family. You're happy for your dad, right? So Tom Brady, for me, he's like my dad. He's like my dad. I'm happy for him. I was so excited for him to go out there and just like the conditions of him being able to win. I mean, in this pandemic era where you had no preseason, you had no pregame, you had no preseason practice, you're on a new coach, a new team with a new coach in a new system, in a new city, you know, new players that you have to connect with. For you in your first year to be able to go somewhere else and completely just like grow the team with every single game, getting to the Super Bowl was like, oh my God, like how did he do this? And then winning it in the fashion that they did was like, come on, man, like having Gronk and Antonio Brown go there because of him. And they were the guys who caught the touchdown passes to win the game. You know, obviously the defense had a lot to do with it. The team is stacked, but for whatever reason, Tampa was not able to really put it all together until Tom Brady got there. And we've been trying to tell people all over the world that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, and you get a lot of hate. You get a lot of people that want to hate. Oh, he's not the GOAT. Well, I'm just saying, like that. If this doesn't prove it, I don't know what else does. Like this is, and he's what, 44, 43? Come on, man. The greatest of all time. You have to be able to appreciate greatness in order to be great yourself. And I always told a lot of people that who live in cities that don't have a lot of good football teams, but they want to talk trash. They want to talk trash. And I said, look, you want to hate on the Patriots? You want to hate on one of the greatest dynasties of all time? You want to hate on Tom Brady, one of the greatest players and quarterbacks of all time? If you can't appreciate greatness, then you will never be great yourself. So just sit back and appreciate the history that we're seeing right now. You will probably never see something like this happen again in your lifetime. I've seen so many Super Bowls as a Patriots fan since I was in middle school and in elementary school, all the way throughout high school and beyond. I've seen so many. You know what I'm saying? I've seen 9 Super Bowls and I've seen 6 Super Bowl championships in New England. So I'm straight. You know, I'm good. I'm good. I think he's earned the right to go off and do whatever he wants to do. But I could go on for hours about Tom Brady's greatness, man. I'm telling you, man. He is awesome, and it was just amazing to see him do what he did from a human being perspective. To see a human being do that is just truly incredible, truly incredible. So I never met him. I feel like I've known him for all these years, and I couldn't be happier for him. For going out there and winning number 7. Wow, bro. Wow. Incredible.
WWE superstar Kofi Kingston, originally from Massachusetts. Thank you so much for joining 10 Questions with NBC10 Boston today.
Right on. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.